Welcome, dear YouTubers, to my video cast again. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all those who subscribed and all those who are following and sharing. The previous video was about introduction in profiting from your frustration. If you recall, I was referring to you writing your first book and me helping you to accomplish that as a goal for 2018. And the focus or the focal point on my discussion was how, as South Africans, we can take not only responsibility, but we can take the bull by its horn. By that I mean, sometimes we have to take risks in order to conquer the impossible. And we need to actually think bigger than our imagination, because the possibilities are actually endless. So in my video cast about turning your frustration into a book, I did mention the fact that if you write your first book, it will probably take you less than 8 years, but at least I guarantee that it will take you 10 months to complete than it took me to complete. It took me 8 years. So without much ado, I want to sort of set the tone for you to understand the prerequisite for turning frustration into a profitable skill. And I'll go through this what is called required skills to venture into the first challenge, which is putting together your first book within the next 10 months. Let's see what these important prerequisites are. Okay, you probably might ask yourself a question: who is this course intended for? The first thing is the course is targeting any person who has the motivation to try and push the envelope, or try and push their talent towards unlimited possibilities. This could be retired people, business people, teachers, people who want to tell a story, researchers, biographers, people who want to write biographies, MBA students, authors, journalists, reporters, and rehabilitated ex-criminals, criminal offenders. And before you can start enrolling, maybe you can give me a call to find out exactly what you require, but without me wasting your time or my time. If you go to eventbrite.co.uk/e/beginners-course, you will find in detail the requirements. Basically, you need to be able to know how to use Microsoft Office Word, you know how to edit a Word document using a laptop or a computer. You need to understand and how to use, most of all, the Microsoft Explorer file management, to be able to manage files, to move information from one folder to the other, save documents, and create a structure in your file folder. And then you must be able to plan with your PowerPoint. I use PowerPoint to plan a project, especially if I know it's going to be a book. Starting with a presentation it helps me gather my thoughts and my organization in a chronological method. So in this course, we're going to be discussing important topics, like, for example, maybe even before I go into those important topics, I spoke about how you can turn frustration into a profitable skill, or how to turn your frustration, introduction to profiting from your frustration. I want to take you a step back from the history of South Africa. Since 1994, we have very few, maybe African book publishers. I only know a majority of publishers are actually journalists or reporters. You know, the Reedies of this world, the Jacques Paul of this world, and but I don't hear of any other publishers besides. Even we have a lot of political authors and poets like Bo Wali Sirote and many others who have been politically inspired to write poetry and tell African stories, but I've still yet to see other writers who will be coming up in the 21st century, meaning from 1990 to now. For the last 23 years, we haven't actually assert ourselves as authoritative writers to publish and assert our legacy as a people. We always depend on assumptions, and those assumptions cannot be referenced as history. We do have a lot of art that has been stored in museums, but we have very few books authored by the general populace, authors who can express a very strong opinion about either politics, finance, history, or social lives, or anything that actually affects even culture and our society's challenge since 1994. So the purpose of this is to try and make people aware that we have a legacy to leave behind. If that legacy could stem from your family name, from your understanding, or from your research, you know, understanding where we come from, the history of mankind, the history of South Africans, the history of the Zulus, or whatever it is that. But also we need fictional writers, people who write interesting novels, people who write stories that will inspire hope, credibility, as well as a generation that can be taught years after we have left this planet. We need to leave behind good values and principles by which we lived, a footprint of what we stood for, good values. We need to start documenting new regulations of how we need our society to behave, how our society can be inventive and be able to solve problems, instead of relying on other cultures from outside of our continent to come and dominate us. So that's the only reason why I'm doing these videos and why I'm running these courses, to empower people to think outside the box, turning frustration into a profitable skill. Most people would say the state capture is the worst nightmare that this country has experienced. Yes, it is a nightmare. It is bad news, but if you look at it with an open mind, it is an opportunity. I was inspired by bad situations, and any writer who has been very successful in writing either poetry, music, or songs, they will tell you that their best song came out of frustration, either frustration from a relationship, or frustration from losing their job, or frustration from bad luck, losing their loved one, and so on. I don't know of any creative writer who writes poetry or a love story out of happiness. Mostly they are tragic incidences that we have either experienced or incidences that we've had other people go through. So, but then to pen down and put this project of yours together, I'm looking at a situation where I'll be able to teach you how to live your legacy. If you go to Google and Google your surname, you will find that you are competing against 3,000 to 40,000 names of your surname. So it means you might not even feature. You can feature if you are on Facebook, but that will be it. There will be 10 or 15 of you. Your name will be insignificant. So you haven't left a legacy just because you are on Facebook. So, and that information does not belong to you. Your information belongs to Facebook, the one that you are writing for Facebook, and Facebook is not paying you. So you need to leave a legacy book. And then writing a book is another way of saying, according to our culture, this is how we do things. You put things into perspective. Why people are making assumptions about Africans simply because we don't have anything documented that can be used as a reference to assert our values as well as our culture. So that's the reason to write and inspire other cultures or other people about your story. Number 2, we don't really tell enough stories about ourselves to a point where we can be able to sell these stories to the first world. In other words, exporting our legacy to the other worlds, where they can convert it into a play, or convert it into a movie, or convert it into a TV script. Number 2, how have we ever explored the book market? The book market is still the biggest market out there, where people, especially Europeans, they thrive on reading and researching and finding new material. And Africa has very little stories to tell, especially in South Africa. We need to evaluate international market to see where opportunities are if we need to export our talent. This could be from songwriting to poetry to writing fiction stories and writing about culture. Simply because why? We have a rich culture that has been untapped, and we need to try and find ways to make money through that frustration. Or even the politics, you know how the politics of the country is run. Most people are so frustrated that they don't know that if you can take that frustration and turn it around, it can be a very creative and a powerful talent, or a new skill in writing. And number 3, in this course I'm also going to show you how to brainstorm and find your strategy, your writing strategy to maximize your potential, and how to tap into it as a resource. You can never run out of stories. If you run out of stories, you fall into a creative field where you can turn a story into a fictitious character and write a novel. So that's basically what I will be teaching you for that one day. And most people don't know that writing is like speaking. If you don't want to complicate it, write like you are speaking, which is a very powerful technique, and it also helps you how to identify your style. One of my prominent writers during the times of World and Post was Doc Bikitsha. He was a prolific writer. I really enjoyed reading his articles, and Vusi Khumalo as well, and Duma Ndlovu was a reporter, by the way. And then putting your book puzzle together, it's most people don't know, it's all easy. You just need to come and sit in the lecture, and then we will show you and brainstorm with you how these things are done. Last but not least, getting your hands dirty. It's like evaluating your writing style and finding a suitable genre where you can be comfortable. And then within that genre, there's a niche market for people who will buy what you're doing. So with that said, you need to be able to use basic typing skills, QWERTY keyboard, be able to manage your files on Microsoft Word, and be able to do spell check. And then once you are comfortable with your computer, being able to move information from one file to another, or creating file structures. And then you have to have access to the internet to be able to do a research on your book, and then we take it from there. And then that is the first part, which is obviously basics to publishing your first book. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, please share. If you can, please subscribe. I really appreciate your input and the time you spend watching my videos. Thank you very much. The next video is going to be about, I'll tell you now, 3 reasons why you should write your first book before you die. Follow it. It's the video after this one. Thank you very much.